where does the data come from, and really what the values are. As explained, first of all, make a copy so that you can enter your own numbers, and then you're supposed to enter your own numbers in terms of how many content pieces and how many hours it takes to complete a single content piece. That the reason why we have not, although we've taken some benchmarks, you can alter them if you've done your own benchmarking. And then overall, we give you an estimate of how much time it takes to build that content, how much money it takes, and essentially, if you were to use a more refined QA process, let's say with zipBoard, how much money you can save. Uh, and I understand it's not of some everybody's interest, so they have a choice to stop at step 2 and just get their answers. Um, to begin with, the first thing to enter is, and I'm switching to the calculator here, is the number of content items to be created. Now, that's why we have these 4 levels, and depending on the size of your team, depending on how many, if you want to estimate the volume of your content, let's say for the whole year, and you know that you build uh, you know level 1, which could be a simple PowerPoint as is written here, or maybe a level 2, which could be a complicated video or a little bit an explanatory video, level 3, which could be a little bit more complex, and level 4, highly customized. So depending on the levels that you work with, you can input that. We have worked with teams or talked to teams which build a hybrid, or a lot, most of the learning teams end up building level 4 content, because they may be building a video, then they will be embedding it into an authoring tool and building all the imagery, doing the audio scripting, everything. So all that is what defines the complexity, and the number of content pieces are really how, you know each consumable content piece that you think you produce. Now, these numbers are how much time it takes to create each level of content. This is come from research from ATD, and we'll be putting that in the sheet as well. But this is the gist of it, that on an average, it can take uh, between 100 to up to 700 hours as well to build learning content. So we have simplified it to say level 1 typically takes 100 hours, level 2 200, 300, 400, based on the conversations that we've had. We have heard these numbers definitely higher, but again, to simplify things, we've put these. If you've done your own benchmarking, you can change these numbers, and that will ultimately change the numbers here. So let's say what we've, for simplification, I'm just going to say that let's say a team which builds 100 content pieces, highly customized, and they know that it takes 400 hours. That means, and this could be over a period of year, that means they build 40,000 content pieces. They take 40,000 hours to build those content pieces. Now, based on that, and averaging on each and every person who's involved in creating that content, if even if there are multiple people, I am taking a low base here. These are all very conservative estimates, that if each person involved is on an average paid $50 an hour, you're actually spending $2 million in creating that content. That's essentially what is the cost of creating content. And the reason why we created this is that we've come across a lot of people, a lot of teams at large companies, smaller teams, agencies, who do not sometimes do this analysis, or even try to assess that actually that's the amount of money, even if it's internal team resources, that's the amount of money that's being spent. You could stop here. I'm happy to explain how, what we suggest, and again, these are numbers based on interviews, but what we have just taken from here is that 40,000 hours, $2 million. If, and this is again depending on how big a team is, how important QA is, and how many things do you QA. There's accessibility, there is browser testing, there is so many elements that teams have to test, especially for larger teams. It takes about 40% time in typically QA and SME feedback process. And what we are saying is that with zipBoard, you save 30% of that 40% time, and that's 4,800 hours. That's not a percentage number, that's a number of hours saved. And taking that into multiplying that by 50, that's $240,000 saved. So I'm happy to explain further, but this is a quick overview.